I'm going to be honest with you. I've been experimenting a lot with AI agents like Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex to build scripts and even full web apps. And I've been seriously impressed. These systems are getting scarily good. That said, I still love FlutterFlow. When it comes to designing and building high quality mobile apps, nothing beats how visual, fast, and precise it feels. Having said that, I do notice a growing chasm between using something like Claude Code and using a visual builder like FlutterFlow. It's not that one is better than the other, they're just different. Still, there's something incredibly compelling about giving a few instructions and watching an entire app come to life in minutes. FlutterFlow is already an amazing product, but there are a few features that I think would take it from great to truly next level. So I've been building FlutterFlow apps for over 3 years now, but I've also been very, very deep into the whole AI agentic coding, building a bunch of apps that I'm going to be showing you over the next several weeks. But overall, I've probably written hundreds of thousands of lines of code with the help of these AI agents. And so in today's video, I want to share with you some crucial features that FlutterFlow should add, and hopefully they will add, to take their amazing no-code app builder to the next level. Now, the first feature that FlutterFlow should definitely add in some of their next versions is something that has been bugging me for quite a while. And this is the inability to easily add any third-party extension or any third-party widget to my project very, very easily and seamlessly. Okay, just to show you what I mean, I have here an app open, right? And this app has a bunch of extensions that I needed to customize and adapt for them to work with FlutterFlow. So if we go over here, you can see that I have a bunch of custom widgets, right? I have like secure world demo, I have rich content viewer, I have Pro Image Editor, HTML, all of these. Now, these extensions are amazing because they add extra features and functionality that FlutterFlow does not ship with by default, right? Like secure wall demo or like Pro Image Editing. You can essentially build amazing production ready quality complex apps with these extensions, with these custom widgets. And you can find these widgets by going over to places like PopDev and a bunch of other places. They exist all over the internet and they truly enhance your app. The issue here is that it's a little tricky to get them to work with FlutterFlow, right? Some are easier than others. But at the end of the day, you have to enhance them somehow. You have to adapt them somehow. You have to do something to make them work. Oftentimes, it's something that's fairly minor, but there are cases where you need to spend a couple of days, fixing the extension, making sure that it predictably works with FlutterFlow, allowing you to easily and to reliably leverage the features of this extension. And this is something that I've been doing over the past several years. From time to time, I would make videos and share with you some of the extensions that I want to feature, that I not only want to share with you, but I also have adapted them to work with FlutterFlow. And I wish this was something that was done automatically by a feature in FlutterFlow. And so the idea is you can simply click over here, you can go into project dependencies, and you can click over here. And instead of getting this extension to work reliably with FlutterFlow, you can simply add one here, or you can have another feature that allows you to add an extension from everywhere, and FlutterFlow will do the magic and get this extension to work with you. And after it finishes kind of adapting it, and then it's going to create a custom widget that will be automatically inserted here. And all you have to do is leverage this extension and start building your app. Because the whole time that you're spending trying to adapt and get this extension to work with FlutterFlow is time that you could be spending building your app. And I wish that one day this is something that FlutterFlow will ship as part of their standard FlutterFlow app. Now, the next feature that I truly hope that FlutterFlow will implement is enhanced integrations with LLM models, okay? So if you go back to your FlutterFlow dashboard, you can click on agents over here. And here you can add an agent, right? So let's say I call an agent, agent. And now I have a model prompt, I have a system message, and here I have model settings, right? So I can select Google, and that's going to go ahead and open this up, and I can select a model here, flash thinking, flash light, flash All of these, I can go to Anthropic and select a model here. These are not even the latest models, right? There are even newer models. Okay, I can go to OpenAI and I can select a model over here. And also, these are not the latest models. Now, these are not the only models that you can use. There's a ton of other models. There's amazing image to image models. There are amazing text to image models. There are amazing models that generate audio, right? There's tons and tons of other models that FlutterFlow can implement as part of this agent workflow. And remember, this agent workflow allows you to have this agent as part of your action workflow, right? So when you're creating different actions, if you define an agent here, that could be an action that's part of your kind of this action sequence. And for example, recently I made a video talking about Nano Banana, which is Google's state of the art text to image model as well as image to image model. Now, wouldn't it be nice if this model was supported here out of the box? Now, unfortunately, I don't think it is. And besides that, if you head over to Replicate, you head over to a bunch of other sites that host tons and tons of different models, you can see that there are some amazing models out there. And unfortunately, they're not supported here. And so what you have to resort to is you have to go in here and you have to create a custom action or a custom function. Well, typically it's going to be a custom action or maybe even a custom widget if you want to display the UI to the user. But if you want some kind of a customizable features that you can use in all kinds of situations, typically it's going to be done as a custom action. So you would come over here, create a custom action, put in the code, customize it, try to get this code working with FlutterFlow, but it would be a lot easier if FlutterFlow would support more and more models here and give us more and more interesting ways of integrating these models with our apps. Now, the next feature that I think FlutterFlow should implement, and this feature is going to be useful to just about anyone, regardless what kind of app that you're building, would be a way for you to chat with maybe an AI chatbot about your app. Okay, so I have this app over here and it has only 6 pages. Okay, and this is not a fairly complex app. It's fairly easy to see what this app is all about. But let's say I have an app with dozens and dozens of pages and different folders doing all kinds of things. Well, let's say I haven't worked on this app for a while. Well, let's say I hand this project to somebody else. So they can click over here and they can simply duplicate it and get a copy of this project. Well, I want to have an ability to chat with a chatbot about this specific app. I want to be able to ask the chatbot, hey, what does this app do? What is this app about? How do I enhance this app? Are there any bugs in this app? What are some of the things do you recommend that I implement in the next phase? What are some of the things that I should implement in version 2.0, 3.0? What's the roadmap for this app, right? All of that is pretty much standard when you are building an app with Claude Code or Codex or any of these other agentic coding systems, Cursor. And so it would also be super useful if that is something that you can do right inside of FlutterFlow. It does not seem to me that this is very, very difficult to implement. I think it's going to be fairly easy and fairly straightforward to implement. All you need to do is click somewhere, maybe at the bottom, maybe somewhere else, maybe up on top here, and you can chat with an AI agent about your app, with a chatbot, essentially, kind of like ChatGPT, but customized and just using the data in the app that you have here. I think that shouldn't be very, very complicated to implement. And that's going to provide a lot of value, whether you are building the app, whether you are maintaining the app, or whether you're somebody that's looking to kind of enhance this app and take it to the next level. Now, the next feature that I think would be super useful to also just about anyone is a feature that not only lets you chat about your app, but also to implement changes to your app. So instead of just chatting about this app, asking, a chatbot to tell you, how does this work? How does that work? That chatbot will also be able to go deep inside your app and actually make changes to your app, okay? So instead of merely a read-only mode, it would have a write-only mode, meaning that it would also be able to make changes. So for instance, let's say I have this page here and I'm doing something here. Well, let's say I want to rearrange the page or I want this page to work a different way. Now, for that, it would need to have not only access to the data here in your app, but also access to tools that make changes. So tools such as create a page, delete a page, add a widget, remove a widget, rearrange the widget, add an action flow, change an action flow. All of those things where you're modifying the app in some way, shape, or form, this tool would need to have access to. And this would allow you to not only chat about your app, but actually make changes in your app easily. You're chatting about something, the agent suggests, hey, you should do this, or this would be a good feature, or that would be a good feature. Well, in that case, you can simply say, yes, go ahead and implement that feature, and it's going to go ahead and do it, and then refresh the app, and you're going to have these features there. I think that's going to be an amazing functionality, because it's going to save you a lot of time and also discover new ideas, new things that you can implement that you may not have thought about as you're building this app. Now, these next two features are truly, truly big and super, super useful. And so the first feature is we need to have FlutterFlow act as an MCP server. Okay, so what exactly is an MCP server? I know it may sound complicated, but actually it's very, very easy. Okay, so if I open this window over here, this is actually a terminal session that's currently running OpenAI Codex, right? I've been using Codex to build a bunch of scripts, a bunch of apps, experiment with it, stuff like that. We are running GPT-5 Codex here. And one of the things that Codex supports is that it supports an MCP mode, which means that I can connect to other MCP servers, right? So if I type MCP over here, you can see my connected MCP servers. Okay, so right now I have Supabase connected and I have Stripe connected, and there's tons and tons of others MCP servers that I can hypothetically connect to. But what does this mean? Well, what this means is that right now, Codex, this terminal here, is acting as an MCP client, and I have these two servers configured. And so what this means is that I have this Supabase configured, and this is actually my own Supabase project instance. And it could do a lot of cool stuff, right? It can apply migration, delete branch, deploy edge function, etc. List edge functions, list tables, merge branch, etc., etc. Essentially everything that you can do via the Supabase UI, right? So instead of going to UI, I can ask this LLM, right, this agent here, this Codex, stuff about my Supabase, right? I can ask it for information. I can also tell it to do stuff, right? So for instance, I can do something like this. Hey, tell me all my tables in my Supabase instance, okay? And so if I do that, it knows that this is not just some random Supabase instance. This is actually something that's connected to my account here as an MCP tool. And there it is. So these are my Supabase tables here that's connected to this project here. And same thing for Stripe, right? I can cancel subscription, I can create coupons, I can create customers. And this is super useful when you are writing code, because obviously your code is not going to be using these MCP servers, right? Your code is just going to be regular code. It's going to be just language, right? JavaScript, TypeScript, Dart, you name it, right? But when you are writing code, in that stage of writing code, your agent can figure out the schema. It can do stuff. It can locate stuff. That's going to be a lot easier, like for testing, for seeing things. And that is super, super helpful. So in this instance, I have here an MCP client, which is this terminal here, that's connected to two MCP servers. And that is exactly what I'd like to have FlutterFlow to support. So I'd like to have FlutterFlow support an MCP server, which means that I can come back over here and I can do MCP and I can connect it via a configuration option. I think you set it up via a file. And so in addition to these two servers, I will also have FlutterFlow, and that means that I can issue commands right inside of my LLM. I can say, hey, give me a list of all the pages, or create a page, or add this widget here, or change the look and feel of the schema according to this, or do this, or do that. So instead of me kind of using the UI and changing it step by step, or creating another version of this app, maybe under a different branch, I can do it all automatically by just issuing, English commands, just text via this LLM that's connected to this, hopefully, FlutterFlow MCP server. Now, FlutterFlow does support an MCP server, but it's fairly limited, right? From my testing, you can't do a lot of things. I mean, you can get some information about the app that you're working with or a different project or something else, but it doesn't allow you to do everything. And that is a big problem, right? So something like with Supabase or Stripe, where you can do pretty much anything that you want, create users, charge users, get user info, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, you cannot do that with FlutterFlow. You're rather limited. And honestly, because it's so limited, it didn't give me the right motivation to kind of set it up and use it as part of my workflow. And so I hopefully in the next version, in the next iteration, they give us a fully fledged FlutterFlow MCP server that we can connect our LLM agents to and do all kinds of fun stuff. And similarly, the next feature that would be awesome to have is MCP client mode. Okay, so instead of me using my LLM to connect to FlutterFlow MCP server, I can use FlutterFlow to connect to another server. So for instance, let's say I'm setting up a Supabase. Well, the way that I need to do it is I need to come over here, get into Supabase, enable Supabase, fill all of this out, and then I need to go into Supabase, create the tables, have sample data. Well, if FlutterFlow had something like an MCP client mode, then I can easily connect to a remote Supabase instance and set up everything. And in fact, it would have been super easy because all I'd really need to provide would be something like an access token. And it can go out, provision the whole project, get all my keys, things like the project ID, the anon key, the service key, and all of that. Create the tables, create the schemas, populate it with sample data. And I say that because all of that can be done right now using something like an LLM that acts as a client mode, an MCP client that connects to a remote server, right? I can easily do that here. And so instead of me doing it here, it would be really nice to be able to do it right inside of FlutterFlow. So that is another super useful feature to have here in FlutterFlow. Now, the next feature that would be really nice to have in FlutterFlow is a feature that I wanted to have for a very long time. And that is a simple agent builder, right? So right now, FlutterFlow has cloud functions that allow you to create cloud functions that run on a server, right? And this requires you to connect to your Firebase account. Well, a lot of times I end up using services such as N8N or BuildShip or many of these other services to create a workflow. But these services allow you to create complex workflows. I want to be able to create a simple workflow, right? Super simple, just maybe a couple of nodes, do something useful. And unfortunately, that is not something that you can do. You have to use cloud functions to do it. That means writing code, and that means getting messy. You can use an LLM to write these cloud functions. You can also do it with Supabase as well. Create a Supabase edge function if you're going to be using Supabase in your app. That is something to do. But what's nice about FlutterFlow is that they have this ability to do these, action flow editors that has a visual kind of setup. And so to be able to create it visually would be super helpful. And like I said, it doesn't need to be anything complex. Even something simple, a couple of nodes here, a couple of nodes there, would help out a lot. And so that is another feature that I look forward to using here inside of FlutterFlow. And last but definitely not least, another feature, and this is a feature that I've been waiting for a very long time, that I'd like FlutterFlow to support, is the ability to hook into callbacks. And before you can hook into callbacks, the ability to actually, for FlutterFlow to capture these callbacks. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of systems, they're synchronous. So you have an action, the action gets executed, and you can wait for the response. No problem, right? This is where FlutterFlow excels, right? So if I have an action flow here, I can add an action. I can say, well, I want to do an API call and execute this API call. I have a success, and after I have a success, do something else. Maybe update a page state, maybe update app state, maybe send an email to the user, etc., etc. But there's also lots and lots of situations where you do not know when you're going to be notified by some system, by some distant system out there, that something has happened, right? And this is fairly common as well, right? A really, really good example is if you're selling something, you have Stripe integration, and let's say somebody buys something. Well, you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully, it will happen, but you have no idea of knowing when it might happen, right? And so in this case, Stripe asks you to register a webhook, meaning like Stripe asks you to connect your own system so that Stripe can notify you when something happens, right? Now, that's nice at all, and that's a great, great architecture, right? And it's awesome that Stripe allows you to do it. But unfortunately, where can I do that in FlutterFlow? Where can I register? Where can I get a webhook to send to Stripe, telling Stripe that, hey, let me know when something happens. Let me know if a user cancels. Let me know if a user downgrades, upgrades a plan, or signs up, or buys something, so that I can send them a welcome email, so that I can, get them on this onboarding process, so they can use my new product, join my new course, etc., etc. Where can I do that in FlutterFlow? And the answer is that nowhere. You cannot do that in FlutterFlow. FlutterFlow is not a tool designed to do that, right? FlutterFlow is an app builder. There's no kind of these backend integrations. And so you have a couple of options. Of course, you can create a cloud function here that will be used as a webhook, or you can also create a Supabase Edge function that can be used as a webhook as well. Or you can, use a tool such as N8N, BuildShip, and many other tools to create a flow that will be triggered not via a user or a button or UI, but it's going to be triggered via a webhook, such as a Stripe webhook or pretty much anything else that sends out asynchronous events, okay? And unfortunately, that is not something that you can do in FlutterFlow. And because this is something that you use a lot, you happen to use this a lot. If you want to get Stripe events, if you want to get events from somewhere else, if you want to get events from an LLM prompt, image to image prompt that might be taking a little bit longer than you expected, well, you need a webhook. So it would be really nice for FlutterFlow to give us that ability to create these webhooks. And this is obviously a feature that I've been waiting for a very, very long time. And throughout the years, I've shown you different techniques, different ways of solving this. But it would be a lot better if this was built into FlutterFlow to begin with, okay? And so these are the main features, the main functionalities that I would absolutely love for FlutterFlow to implement and have this type of integration available for my apps, for my existing apps, as well as my future apps. And so hopefully FlutterFlow is listening, and hopefully they'll be able to implement at least some, if not all, of these features in subsequent releases, okay? And if you have any features that you would love for FlutterFlow to implement, let me know in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming up. And check out our amazing Patreon community via the first link in the description below the video.